Welcome to This Explainer. Look, speaking to you as a senior marine safety inspector, I'm not going to frame this DP3 annual trials preparation guide as some routine paperwork exercise. No, this is a critical survival briefing for DP Class 3 vessels. Meet our test subject for today, the 130-meter construction vessel Norske Kommander. Our primary goal here is hunting down those hidden equipment failures long before they snowball into a catastrophic emergency. We're going to pin down the key parameters we test that separate a truly reliable vessel from a highly vulnerable one. Okay, let's run through our agenda. We're looking at architecture and bulkheads, CAM versus TAM modes, sensor independence, engine protections, cooling and ventilation, and finally, blackout readiness. Section 1. Architecture and the worst-case failure design intent. So the absolutely foundational concept here is the worst-case failure design intent, or WCFDI. The rule is incredibly strict. Even if we completely lose a 6.6 kilovolt main switchboard and, say, 3 thrusters go down with it, we must hold our position. That is the absolute baseline standard for all of our trials. Now, to confirm that design intent holds up in reality, we follow a strict procedure to confirm the integrity of the A60 fire and watertight bulkheads between the engine rooms. We rigorously test these because physical separation is literally the only thing guaranteeing that a localized fire or a sudden flood won't wipe out both your main and redundant equipment groups at the exact same time. Section 2. Operating modes. Let's look at the risks and actions of CAM versus TAM. This is where we analyze how the DP operator actually handles the vessel. Critical Activity Mode, or CAM, gives you maximum isolation but relies on manual operator actions to transfer thrusters. TAM, on the other hand, gives you operational flexibility, but it comes at a steep price. That's exactly why we include a rigorous risk analysis in this guide to prevent catastrophic failures in TAM. Those closed buses introduce a severe blackout threat, and your automation absolutely has to handle it flawlessly. Moving to Section 3, Sensor Independence and Rooting Out Hidden Failures. Take a look at our test plan for verifying the independence of our position sensors and reference systems. Notice how these critical sensors are physically and electrically segregated across entirely different UPS networks. This guarantees total independence, meaning a single power failure doesn't leave the vessel suddenly flying blind. Here is our exact step-by-step procedure to eliminate hidden equipment failures. We use a cross and circle rotation check to mathematically prove the sensors won't drift together synchronously. By intentionally failing specific reference sources, we verify that the system accurately rejects bad data and keeps us locked right on position. Whenever I'm conducting a briefing for operators on sensor failures, I always pose this scenario. What actually happens if there's a deviation between your DP command and the physical azimuth steering angle? Well, the independent closed-loop protection should immediately trigger a prediction error and shut down the drive to stop a drive-off. We actually design strict training scenarios specifically to test this exact failure response. Section 4. Engine Protections and Emergency Testing. Let's dive deep into our test plan for the engine's emergency protections. We meticulously check the engine control system alarms. This includes methods to verify oil leak protections, crankcase differential pressure, and of course, a detailed plan for testing the emergency shutdown if an engine overheats. If you ignore these checks in TAM, you risk collapsing the entire connected power grid. Keep this number in your head: 90 seconds. A generator can be started up to 90 seconds after pre-lubrication stops. That is a vital metric in our checklist for evaluating system reaction times during an emergency generator shutdown. It's essentially your guarantee of a rapid blackout recovery, which is exactly why we strictly govern the test procedures for the automatic starts of standby generators. Section 5. The lungs of the ship. Cooling and ventilation checks. Engines are completely useless if they can't breathe or stay cool. We follow these precise steps to check the engine cooling systems and pumps, making sure to confirm all emergency temperature and pressure sensors are working. We also run through instructions to verify the ventilation and fire dampers. It is absolutely crucial to confirm that engine room fire dampers fail exactly as set on air loss, rather than accidentally choking the oxygen supply to your running engines. Now, what happens to your DP control spaces if the main chilled water HVAC system completely fails? This is a huge vulnerability people miss. We have to guarantee that the independent, packaged air conditioners will auto-start to protect those highly sensitive DP controllers from permanent heat damage. Finally, Section 6, Blackout, Crew Readiness, and Drift Minimization. Here is the step-by-step operator algorithm to minimize drift during a sudden loss of power. When a blackout hits, you monitor the automatic blackout recovery and the thruster phase back. The golden rule here? Keep your hands off the manual levers unless the automation completely fails. You just watch and verify. We classify all of our checks based on DP3 equipment criticality. For instance, the highly reliable variable frequency drives have their speed command checks phased over a 5-year period. But high-risk items like hydraulic steering are tested intensely every single year. This schedule also strictly covers the methods for confirming emergency stop systems for all the engines across the board. These right here are my specific criteria for evaluating your crew's readiness for an emergency. I am looking directly at your ability to instantly recognize those hidden network failure alarms, flawless execution of your training scenarios, and a fundamental understanding of what your capability limits are the second a failure occurs. Adhering to the framework of the IMCA M225 guidelines isn't just about checking a box to pass an annual survey. It's about building an architecture of absolute reliability into every single one of your operations. I'm going to leave you with this Watchkeeper Emergency Action Memo. Consider this your rapid response checklist to instantly stabilize the vessel and isolate faults when the bridge turns into absolute chaos with a flood of alarms. It really all comes down to this one question. When a sudden, total blackout hits, will you trust your vessel's automation to recover, or will your sheer instinct to manually intervene be the very thing that causes the drift-off? The systems are designed to survive, but is your crew trained well enough to step back and let them do their job? Reviewed your procedures, train hard, and stay safe out there.